Right guys, a few weeks ago we brought you a video of the 29 athletes that were confirmed to compete at this year's World's Strongest Man. Well, last night, World's Strongest Man announced the 30th athlete. Drum roll, please. Our 30th athlete is from Bosnia, Nedzmin Ambeskovic.
That was the worst announcement ever.
Nedzmin Ambeskovic. I gotta say, Lizzie, that Nedzmin was a surprise choice for me.
He's not the most obvious choice, is he? When you look at his competition history, he hasn't, like, he did the Arnold UK last year, but then he hasn't done a full competition since, I think, 2019 before that. So not an obvious pick. I'm not mad.
No,
I like Nedzmin, and I love how representative this year's World's Strongest Man is more than anything else. But what we should do is talk about the big names that people thought, because everyone was sort of gearing up for like
Zadrunas.
Yeah. Poor Nedzmin. And so let's talk about some of those names and why we know or why we think they're not competing this year.
Okay. Very quickly, let's go through the 30 athletes that are competing at this year's World's Strongest Man. Starting them with the man we just announced, Nedzmin Ambeskovic from Bosnia.
Rauno Heinle from Estonia.
Pavlo Kordiaka from Ukraine.
Gabriel Peña representing Mexico.
Rob Kearney from the USA.
Kim Jorak Lorentzen representing Greenland.
Kelvin de Ruyter from the Netherlands.
Maxime Boudreau from Canada.
The four-time World's Strongest Man, Brian Shaw from the USA.
Mark Felix from the UK.
Paro Dwyer representing Ireland.
Shane Flowers, also from the UK.
Jean-Stephen Korobov from Australia.
The current Europe's Strongest Man, Luke Stoltman from the UK.
Followed by the current World's Strongest Man, Tom Stoltman.
Mr. Bobby Thompson from the USA.
Ivers Schmaukstelis from Latvia.
Former Britain's Strongest Man, Adam Bishop.
The T-Rex from the USA, Evan Singleton.
From Iceland, Eyþór Ingolfsson Melstead.
The Georgian Bull, Konstantin Janasha.
He's just won Texas Strongest Man for the second time in a row. From the USA, Trey Mitchell.
From Finland, Mika Toro.
He returns from Iran, Payman Mahedapur.
And representing Canada in his first World's Strongest Man, Gabriel Reum.
From the USA, we have 2019's World's Strongest Man, Martins Lisis.
The Welsh Bull, Gav Bilton.
We also have 2020's World's Strongest Man returning, Alexei Novikov from Ukraine.
And the Polish Terminator, Mateusz Kiliashkowski, returning to World's Strongest Man.
And finally, from the USA, we have Kevin Ferris. I do like that lineup.
It's a tasty lineup.
Oh my God, the groups are going to be
We're going to have some fun with putting these into groups, aren't we?
We need to seed them. And then we need to plant a seed in World's Strongest Man's head as well. And just arrange them. How would we arrange the groups? Man, there's going to be no easy groups this year at Worlds.
Absolutely. There is going to be some stacked groups.
There's going to be some upsets. Please, Worlds, if you're watching, maybe more than 10 in the final this year. We're not greedy. 15? Wouldn't 15 be incredible? Think of, we're going to lose like 4 to 8 really good names going into the final.
That's World's Strongest Man for you.
Oh, it's very upsetting. So in this year's lineup, we have 17 different nations represented. That's such an improvement on the last couple of years. I mean, 2020, I know that was a terrible year, but we only had 10. It's great. We know that there's some gaps still if you look at a map, but it's definitely improving.
Very much so. There's lots of new places represented this year, lots of new athletes as well. How many newbies do we have competing?
8 doing their first World's Strongest Man this year, which is very exciting.
8 first-timers at Worlds. We've got Mark Felix going for his 17th.
Yeah, something silly. We also have in this competition 4 men that have held that World's Strongest Man title. The current champion, obviously, Tom Stoltman. The winner before him was Alexei Novikov in 2020. 2019 champion is returning this year, Martins, ready to upset everyone. And then obviously we've got the 4-time champion, Brian Shaw. And the last time Brian won this was 2016. It was some time ago.
And the real interesting thing, since 2017, we've had a different winner every year.
Yeah.
Is someone else going to add their name to that title, or are we going to see a 5-time World's Strongest Man? Are one of the other guys going to become a 2-time World's Strongest Man?
We're going to see a 2-time World's Strongest Man, I
think.
think.
Ooh, Elizabeth with the early predictions.
Yeah.
Who are you predicting? that leaves us 3 guys.
Yeah.
I want to know who you're going for.
Martins.
Without knowing the events, you're going
Without
for
knowing
Martins.
anything. I
There you
know.
go.
I feel
I'm the one that usually gets the criticism for always supporting Martins,
Yeah.
but without seeing the events, Tom Stockman at Worlds is a dangerous man.
I know, and that's what I'm so excited about to see, because Worlds is the perfect format for Tom. It really is where he's at his best. But Martins is so good as well, and oh please God, give me a healthy Mateusz. That's who I want to win, Mateusz.
Okay. Not really.
If I could give it to someone, I'd give it to Mateusz.
I'm kind of worried about my wife now, so we'll
Give the title. No, because that's it, right? Right, let's move on to the athletes that aren't there that I can't give it to.
So, Elizabeth,
Yes.
I know that you search the internet.
I don't search. The internet finds me. People message me and they send me things.
People message you.
They
You don't
do.
reply, but
I read.
You read stuff, and you've kind of seen who people are talking about in terms
Yeah.
of people suggesting they should be at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So, what names are you seeing thrown about the most?
Okay, so the biggest one probably is Ian Bibby. Now, Ian Bibby, he has officially qualified for this year's World's Strongest Man by placing on the podium at the Strongman Classic last year at the Royal Albert Hall. Ian Bibby gets invited to World's Strongest Man every year, and this year was no exception. He got his invitation. Ian Bibby doesn't want to do World's Strongest Man. And
Yeah, that's the simple fact of it. It's a shame because I'd love to see him at Worlds.
Yeah, I
and
would too.
you know, looking at his performance at the Strongman Classic last year, came third and didn't do the Atlas Stones.
Yeah, he's no one-trick pony either. People
at
think,
all.
oh, he's just about overhead. He is fast. He's an incredible athlete.
He's got an incredible grip.
Yes.
He moves exceptionally fast.
With
He's a
yokes of
huge
frames.
squatter. I'd love to see him focus on some full competitions. It seems he wants to focus more on the overhead records.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have some ridiculous shoulder power. But I would actually love to see him focus on some full comps because he's got so much potential.
I think maybe because he's like a demigod in his country. Do you think it's like if he doesn't win World's Strongest Man, it shatters the illusion slightly?
I don't even think it's that, to be honest. No.
Doesn't fancy it.
Yeah, but he gets invited and he declines his invite. It's as simple as that. That's why we're not seeing Ian Bibby at this year's World's Strongest Man.
Next then, Graham Hicks, who also qualified for this year's Worlds by placing third at Europe's Strongest Man 2021. Now, fair play to Graham. He's made a very honest video about his reasons. So first off, Graham has got an ongoing issue with his groin, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which, you know, might or might not have stopped him from going to Worlds anyway. But he did make quite an honest video on his YouTube, which you can check out here, simply saying that to travel to America, the USA, you have to be double vaccinated, and he hasn't had the vaccine. He says he's not against them, he's not for them, he just hasn't had it, and that's that. So he literally can't travel.
Yeah, it's fair play to him for making that choice. He's made that decision, and unfortunately it means he can't get to America right now.
Yeah.
So if World's Strongest Man was somewhere else, he could potentially compete.
Yeah, every country has its own entry requirements, and it's the same case in a lot of places, or it's quite difficult to travel if you're unvaccinated, but I don't want to talk about that anymore.
No, I mean, I got some abuse for wearing a mask on a plane.
When
You cannot fly without a mask on a plane. Trust me, I don't want to wear a mask on a plane, especially when I'm in a quiet row and it was just you and me sat there.
Yeah.
And I
should point out he got abuse in the comments on a YouTube video, not abuse on the plane.
Yeah, I didn't get
People aren't that crazy.
But it's just that travelling right now is a lot harder than it used to be. And talking of that issue, it's the same with Zadrunas.
Yeah, apparently so. So we spoke to Zadrunas in November at the official Strongman Games. We talked about Worlds. What did he say? My brain is a sieve.
He said he was thinking about it, but he wasn't kind of... Zadrunas is just enjoying being Zadrunas.
Yeah.
You know, he's competed and won in everything there is to do in Strongman. He enjoys competing still, but I don't think he puts that pressure on himself to try and be the absolute best in the world. He's still talking about log lift records, and I believe that's his main focus in terms of strength. But yeah, Zadrunas also can't get into America right now as he doesn't have a vaccination.
So this next one is obvious to most who are aware, but JF Caron will not be competing at Worlds this year because he suffered a very serious injury at the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Absolutely gutted to see what happened to JF at the Arnolds. He's going to have a tough, uphill battle to get back to anywhere close to his best. We are talking to JF later today, so make sure you tune in tomorrow to see that chat.
He'll be missed as well, JF, because he's such a solid contender. Like the last however many years he's been like fifth-ish.
Top 5 all the time.
Fifth-ish. Yeah. And he's just, I mean, some of the athletes might think, thank God JF's in my group.
Oh, I'm sure some of them will.
Yes.
So I know you've written down a number of other athletes, none of which have actually officially qualified for Worlds. There's always kind of pros and cons to why they should be invited.
Yeah.
Who's on your list?
Okay, so on this list we have Laurence Shahlaei, who placed 5th at last year's Europe's Strongest Man. Mitchell Hooper, now he's been invited to do the Deadlift World Championships in August in Cardiff, and I'm really excited to see him there, but he didn't make the final cut this year. Germany's Strongest Man, Dennis Koolruis. Now this was a very popular one in the comments. A lot of people, he's a really great log lifter. I think what's hard is you've got this large pool of athletes that are all really good and can all beat each other, and some of those have made it into the lineup this year and a lot haven't, and I think Dennis is one of those, along with a Swedish representation. So usually every year there's someone from Sweden, but
there's been some great athletes from Sweden in the past, the likes of Magnus Samuelsson, Johannes Aho, Johnny Hansen. Obviously Johnny's currently injured, so we haven't seen him at his best. Marcus Evgenijsson won Sweden's Strongest Man this year. Often the winner of Sweden's gets an invite to World's Strongest Man. So no Swedish representative as yet. Like we said, there's a big reserve list, but for the 30 guys, no Swedish athletes in this year's.
We've also got no African representation this year. I don't want to butcher his name. Tubalani Mabeso? Yes? Won Africa's Strongest Man late last year. It would be nice to see him there. Obviously, Ian Bibby officially qualified anyway. It'd be great to see him there. But no Chris van der Linde, no one from Africa.
Yeah, that's interesting. We often see an African representative. So although it's a big pool of different countries represented this year, there's certain areas that are
some big
missing
gaps as well. A couple of old favourites as well, and I don't mean to say old, but Jerry Pritchett and Mikhail Shivlikov. Neither of them, although they haven't had the best last year, have they? No,
Misha's not really done much in the last few big shows that he's done. Obviously had a number of injuries to deal with. Same with Jerry. Jerry's in that boat, he's rehabbing, and
Jerry looked better at OSG in November.
He did, yeah. It was good to see him in the Masters, and he's starting to come back to the Jerry that we really remember, and the man that can turn up and beat anyone on his day.
And then finally, one name I keep seeing being thrown around, Kyriakos Grizzly.
I'd love to see Kyriakos in this.
Why has he not been invited?
We need to make this happen. Kyriakos Grizzly needs to get to a strongman competition. I think we should set up a competition with 5 particular events that would be really good for
5
Kyriakos.
particular events.
I'm not convinced he would be the best at World's Strongest Man.
No.
But I think we could put a competition on that only he would win.
Some really heavy shrugs.
He has some crazy, crazy power. I'm not convinced that his power transitions to a great strongman, but I'm not saying a great strongman would beat him at the things he's really good at. He's clearly a very strong man, and it is always fun when his name gets mentioned.
He's going to mog us all.
So guys, there you have it. The 30 athletes all been announced. We'll bring you groups, we'll bring you predictions, we'll bring you events over the next few weeks, but that's the athletes. Let us know your thoughts. Lizzie going for the early prediction.
Prediction's a strong word. I'd say
telling us who she's going to give it to and all sorts of things. Anyway, guys, remember to like the channel, comment below with who you're looking forward to seeing, who you think's going to win, what events you'd like to see, all of that stuff, and we'll be back with more next time.